Welcome, people, to episode 19 of the All Gunners podcast. And you will maybe notice, listeners, that our moods are a little bit. No. We're optimistic over here, guys. It's been a difficult a couple of weeks, let's say, with results and whatnot. But no, let's keep it buzzing, guys. Let's keep it buzzing. We're here today. We are going to be reviewing and previewing the last game of the season. But I can't do that alone, as you guys all know. I've got my brother from another mother, my partner in crime, the disagreeing often with me, but agreeing at times with me, Zed. How we doing, my friend?
Hey Harry, you know what? That intro was quite, slow and slow, and then you picked it up. That
It
was that
picked
was
up.
a
It
nice
picked up.
that's a nice misdirect. I'm well. I'm well though. How are
Good,
you?
good. Yeah, I've been better, mate. On an Arsenal level, I've been better, let's say. But yeah, other than that, life is not too bad. Look, we've got a lot to get through today. Let's get straight into it because
Go on then.
we've got tomorrow is the last game of the season where we play Everton and we're going to be previewing that game. Later on, we'll be going to be talking about the Europa League, the fact that we're guaranteed that fifth spot, and what really our target should be for the season after. I know that the manager is
Mm.
coming under a lot of pressure after the loss to Newcastle, the 2-0 loss, and we'll obviously be getting into that as well and breaking some of that down. And then we're going to briefly touch on the transfer window, guys. So, look, Zed, let's get straight into it. Newcastle, a 2-0 loss away at St James's Park. I've got to be honest with you, I was worried about this game even before it was on. I think, given the
Mm.
fact that our injury, we didn't even know whether we were going to have a back line at that point before when we were previewing this. But as we always do, us Gunners, we showed some optimism, didn't we? And you asked me directly because you were hosting that week. You said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Look, this is a game that we can." But I've got to be honest with you, Zed. Inside, with how Newcastle's home record has certainly been, and actually their overall results in this calendar year, or certainly since the transfer window in January closed, they've been
Mhm.
high flying up there with Man City and Liverpool. So I have to say that I was worried, and I was worried at kickoff. But how did it happen for you? Because I'll be honest with you guys out there listening. Zed texted me through the game, and I didn't reply to him. And
Yeah, I figured why. I figured
when I
why.
don't reply to him, it's because I'm so pissed. But yeah, I mean, what were you thinking through that, and how? What were your emotions, and what's your breakdown of the game, Zed?
Yeah. So, as I think, as we said in the last episode, if everyone should go and listen to that one, uh, I was, quietly confident. I think a couple of episodes ago, when we discussed when we had 3 games left to go, we did say this was going to be the most tricky game after the North London derby. Directly 2 hard games.
Yeah,
Newcastle's been on a good run. They've recruited well. They've had a good team, and you know what? They've saved themselves.
yeah,
Uh, from the relegation battle. They're mid-table,
they've
so
been very
they
smart, haven't they? Very
yeah,
smart.
exactly. Very
Yeah,
smart. So they were taking it easy. They didn't have the pressure on. Arsenal had all the pressure on. And we did discuss in the last episode as well that we didn't know if Ben White or Gabriel were actually going to play. And note the fact that Gabriel actually came off in this game as
he did,
well,
he did.
which is quite unlike Arteta. He's never, taken Gabriel off that like that. But he did go for broke. But let's break down the game as it was. So let me just get this out. Newcastle deserve to win, and
Oh,
they deserve to win
totally,
2-0. Okay?
totally. Well, they
2
deserve to
0.
win about 4-0, Zed. Actually, let's not go there. But yeah,
No, no, but I mean, just based on the quality of chances and what they created, they deserve to win the game, and 2-0 is reflective of the performance. I think for Arsenal, this young team, they couldn't handle the pressure. I think it's simply going away to a good team after getting battered by Tottenham at home, what you call away, getting battered 3-0 by Tottenham away, and then going to another away game at Newcastle at a difficult stadium. The atmosphere was buzzing at St James's Park, absolutely
it
buzzing.
was
You can hear
amazing.
it.
It was
It was
amazing.
it was bloody amazing, and you can hear it through the screen. I wasn't even there, and I was scared. So it must be very, very scary for the players. But
Definitely.
that's not an excuse. Simple fact is, the Arsenal team were just not up to the task, and I can't say much about the manager. I think he should have motivated his players a lot more, maybe played around a bit more with the team. But first half, we started with the same team that we, said they will. So the same back four, the same midfield, just
Mm.
one change, which was Smith Rowe starting over Martinelli, which did come across odd to me. I don't know what you thought about the Harry, but that came across quite odd to me.
Yeah, I think. Look, this is what it was for me in terms of that lineup. Is that we were so worried, weren't we? I mean, if we go back to that previous pod, episode 18, we were so worried about that back line. It almost felt like for me that anyone in front of them is okay as long as White and Gabriel were fit. So
Hmm.
and I think we weren't the only ones in that situation. I think listening to other podcasters, they were kind of like, because I don't think Smith Rowe strikes us as a bad replacement. He scored some really important goals for us across the season.
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
but I must admit that I was, if you want to take just that selection alone, I mean, it's hindsight's a great thing. Is that with how Martinelli's been playing and the intensity that he's been playing in, this was probably the better game for him, and it was quite soon realised in the second half when he actually did bring off Smith Rowe for him, and we did slightly, fractionally improve, didn't we?
Yeah, but very, very, very fractionally. Let's just get that clear. But yeah, I think that struck me as odd. But the rest of the team was as we expected. It's just the fact that Arsenal lacked the cutting edge, and they weren't able to get any passes or rhythm together. Newcastle were
Would you
very
would
up
you
for
say
it.
would you say Zed, this is one of the deadest games of the season? I certainly think it's up there.
I mean, it's up there. I mean, we've had some dead games this season. Let's just get that right. We've had those three losses
I
just
saw,
before the winter.
yeah, we did, but I must say I saw a little bit more fight in those three losses. I mean,
Not really, not really. I mean, we crumbled against the likes of Southampton and what you call them,
I think the one that probably would strike
Brighton.
me as bad was the Crystal Palace one. This
Crystal
reminded me of
Palace
the
was
Crystal. That was abysmal. That was
no, Crystal Palace
disgusting.
was worse. Crystal
Yeah,
Palace was
but
worse.
but but
In
but it certainly wasn't far off Crystal Palace. I think
no,
with the Brighton result, I think, yeah, we were poor in that game, but I think I think sometimes, do you remember that the Martinelli goal that wasn't given, and then they called it offside by. Well, it wasn't offside, was it? The VAR got
yeah,
involved. I think sometimes when a decision goes against you like that, then you and heads go down, and as you've touched on, as a young team, but that we were still getting into the box and we were pressuring somehow. We should have been, but this one was absolutely, there was just, it just seemed like the whole team were limp.
yeah. I think the problem is, and simply what we said will be the case, and what you made the point multiple times in multiple episodes of the podcast is the fact that because the Arsenal didn't recruit in the summer, oh sorry, in the winter window, correct me, just the fact that the squad was so thin, that was always going to be the worry, that they were going to run out of steam
Yeah.
towards the end of the season, and that's basically what's happened. The, Arsenal were just not at the races this
No.
game at all. They created nothing throughout the 90 minutes, and they were just dead. I mean, the first goal they scored went as an own goal by Ben White, but that's barely. I mean, Ramsdale, yeah, probably should do better at his near post. Any keeper who gets beaten at a near post is never a compliment, right? He should do better. But at Newcastle on the break, they were always good. Joe Linton puts in a good ball. Colin Minson gets a good touch to it. And Ben White at a full stretch as a defender, that's what he's going to try to do. They play dangerously, and that was inevitably going to happen. So I put that one down to, as much as it was coming at pace, I think Ramsdale should be watching his front post.
Yeah, I think we've probably got to go a bit sort of ahead of why the ball was there and why that ball comes in from Joe Linton.
The foul
It
throw
was
by
the foul
Calvert.
throw, but it was also Cedric was far too high up the pitch.
Yeah,
And his positional sense again has cost us the Arsenal. And it was, remember, Tomiyasu going off injured again.
yeah,
So
but
yeah.
the thing is, right? Because Arsenal were creating absolutely nothing,
Mm,
and they needed to win the game, he had to be hard. They had to play high risk football because remember, this is 55 minutes. So for
mm,
the entire first half, Arsenal have done absolutely nothing,
yeah.
and just and at the start of the second half, Newcastle came out, full guns blazing as well.
Yeah.
So Arsenal. So
Yeah.
Arsenal had to do something to counter it, and that was the rare moments where they actually managed to get momentum up the
Yeah.
pitch
Yeah.
until that foul throw. So, it needed to be done, and that was the high risk, high reward kind of strategy that you needed to play
Yeah. Yeah.
at
Yeah.
that point. So, I think, yeah, you can criticize it, absolutely,
I
just
mean,
like it's,
I mean,
but
what I want to sort of break down and get from you as well, Zed, is that we had a big discussion, and we disagreed on how we should have tactically set up against Spurs in North London derby. I mean,
hmm
in some ways, hindsight is, as we said, is a great thing. I may have been vindicated by saying, actually, if we'd have sat against Spurs and hit them on the break, and you were saying, well, actually, no, we should be going out and trying to go toe to toe,
take the
etc.
game.
Yeah, and what do you think Arteta in this particular game? I mean, obviously we needed a result here, but
hmm
do you think we could be a bit critical of him that actually, as opposed to sort of as some managers do, they take games by segment and saying, okay, look, do we think maybe we underestimated Newcastle a little bit this in this game?
I think he underestimated. I don't know actually. I don't know if that's a fair thing to say. If he underestimated, I think
I'm just saying,
it would.
looking at their record at home in the last
Mhm.
few games. What is it? Was it something like six victories in the last home games that they've
I
had?
think so. I think six victories and they barely
And the
lost
two
to
and the two games they
Liverpool.
lost absolutely were barely to Liverpool and Man City, right?
Exactly.
And that's where I think, and that's where I'm kind of asking you to sort of really extract that is that did we go a little bit arrogant there, thinking actually this is Newcastle, we should be beating them? Because I think, again, hindsight, I think that we probably did. I think we were a little bit complacent and tired, I have to
I
say.
think I,
Yeah.
I think tired and mentally done. I think it wasn't much to physicality, and I can't say that the manager didn't have a plan to go there and win the game. I can't sit there and say that because he, I can tell you, he risked Gabriel and he risked Ben White.
Yeah.
You can see that because Gabriel came off and they weren't as sharp as they were, right?
Mm,
He risked both of his plays and he risked Tomiyasu to an extent,
yeah.
right? And he had to come off as well. Because of the injury situation, he risked three of his defenders to try to win this game. So I don't think he was underestimating. If he was underestimating, he could have played bloody and Lenny as centre back.
Mm,
Yeah, Sambi the Congo would have been on. I don't think he underestimated them, but I think the team at that point was depleted. There was the coach had a plan and what to execute it, but Newcastle had a better plan and they were more up for it. The simple fact is, all your best laid plans in a game like this can go absolutely wrong if your players aren't physically and mentally, is a key point, up for it. I
and they
think,
weren't, were they?
and they weren't. And simple fine, and we'll talk about Xhaka's comments afterwards,
Yeah.
but just to finish off on the game breakdown, and then the inevitable happened at 85th minute when the game was already done. Bruno Guimaraes scores after an
Well,
awful.
he had to, didn't he? He had to.
He had to. He was linked with what you call Arsenal, so he had to score against
It's
them,
funny you
right?
mention him, and I want to ask you a question about this because a lot of people, I mean, nobody's alluded to this, but did you notice his celebration? He kind of put his arms out, his hands out, and I immediately thought, was he saying you could have had me?
No, because simple fact is the wages that what you call Newcastle would offer and the money they offered, he was always going there. I don't think Arsenal ever made a play or a bid for him. They were linked with him. They definitely, tried to get him, but their priority was more of a defensive midfielder.
Mm,
And at that point, they were like, do we really need a person in the middle of a season? And at the same time, Newcastle were like, hold on, this guy is creating the most amount of chances in Liga, and so why not we go get him?
yeah,
And he took a while to get going, but bloody hell, he's got going.
yeah, yeah. He's a
Yeah,
good player. He's a good player.
oh, absolutely, absolutely.
One that we missed out on. So,
Yeah,
so let's sort of move this on a little bit. Obviously, I take your points, and I'm agreeing with you, Zed, in respect of mentally, physically. I think you're right. We came out of a very intense sort of with when you're down to 10 men, it doesn't just affect you physically, it affects you mentally. You've
absolutely.
you've
Yeah,
touched on it in the previous pod, if I remember correct, as well, that Arsenal just don't bounce back from defeats very well, and it usually
nope.
takes a couple of games to get us back into the groove of things. And and we're going to come on to Everton as well to see if we will be back in that groove. Um, but I think Chaka's comments were significant here because they raised a lot of controversy with the fan base. Some, I think Gary Neville mentioned that he was out
Hmm.
of order for saying that. I happen to think when he made them, I liked his honesty. If I'm honest with you, he said, and those of you who didn't catch Chaka's comments, go and check it out on YouTube. He said that our players, did not follow the game plan that was set by the
Hmm.
manager,
Yep.
and he was asked about sort of mentality and whether uh, some people were some of the players were maybe sort of shy and not ready for a game of this velocity, and
Yep.
he commented in his head and said, well, if you're not ready for a game like this, then you shouldn't
Stay
have even
home.
come out. You should have stayed at home. And he finally said that the way that we play today, we're not even ready for the Europa League, let alone the Champions League. And I think that's what really caused the controversy, those particular comments in itself. Where do you stand on that, Zed?
Is he wrong? The
I,
question is.
I don't think he is. I felt exactly the same. You know I'm very pragmatic with these things, Zed.
Hmm.
Is that and we're going to probably touch on this as well in terms of when we discuss the Europa League, and there is certain segments of people out there that were saying, are this team even ready for the Champions League? Yes, we're ahead of the game in terms of the development of this squad, but that I always say, don't I, that if you want to get into the Champions League, you have to win these games.
Absolutely,
And if you
absolutely.
don't win them, Zed, you've got to at least put a performance in. I wouldn't have
Yeah.
minded coming out of that. I mean, I probably would have, and I would have probably still cussed the team down. But actually, if we lose that game, I don't know, 4-3, and it was
Yeah.
an absolute masterclass, and we played some absolutely amazing football, and we did our best, and we left our sort of blood and sweat on the pitch. I'd say, Zed, you know what? In reflection, we gave it our best, and it just wasn't meant to be today. But we
Hmm.
can't, can we?
No, no, absolutely no. Absolutely no way can we say that this team gave their all. And going back to the point of Xhaka's comments,
Yeah.
I think he's brutally honest. I think one thing I have to respect is the fact that he's brutally honest.
Hmm.
The reason why it doesn't. So if Mohamed El Neni had gone away and made the same comments, everyone there would be no controversy. Do you know
Yeah.
why? Because this guy goes there and tries and does the moan and does everything. Xhaka unfortunately has been part of controversies many, many times. And it's something that Gary Neville mentioned as well. He has cost the team at very important moments over the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to go away and make that comment, it's not the fact that he's wrong. He's absolutely bloody right. Let's just get that right, right? If you're not up for it as a professional footballer, right, no matter how young you are, and I know a lot of these players are very, very young from a maturity point of view, right?
Yeah.
They're great footballers, they're very talented, but they're very young from a maturity point
Well,
of
we
view,
saw
right?
that in the performance, didn't we?
Exactly, exactly, right? But you have to, pick up. But there's 2 points where I don't agree with Xhaka. One, it's hypocritical of him to say that, considering what he has cost the team over the last couple of seasons. Yes,
Mm.
he's been good under Arteta. Yes, he's improved a lot. He doesn't make as many stupid decisions, but he is the last person to say that because he has lost his head and cost points and important points, right? Number two, and this is the important one, this is the kind of thing that should be said to the players in the dressing room at halftime if you are a true leader.
Yeah.
Don't go out in public and say that. You get in the dressing room. Yes, you may not be the captain anymore, but you are a senior member of the squad
Yeah.
and one of the most experienced players in that team, and you need to stand up. He probably did. You know what? I'm not even questioning. He probably did that,
Probably.
right?
Yeah.
Probably. But on the pitch, when a leader was needed, when they went 1-0 down, he should have been the one clapping and saying, "Boys, let's get one back. This is
Mm.
the time we're going to do it." I didn't see that.
No.
So that is why I disagree. There was a leader. So what I needed was him and Martin Odegaard. Yes, I understand Odegaard's young, but the fact is you're wearing the armband, right?
Yeah.
In
Correct.
football, the captain only has one job. There's no tactic, there's nothing like that. Just to give you a comparison, in cricket, the captain makes every single decision for every single play. right?
Yeah.
That's how much responsibility is. A captain wins you and loses the game in a game like cricket. In football, you have one job as a captain, which is when your team or any of your players put the heads down, you go to them and say, lad, pick up, we're going to get one back, let's go. Don't worry about it, let's get it back.
Yeah.
Right? It's the positivity, it's the leadership. So when the team was absolutely down and out, rather than coming out and make those comments, and I can understand he is hurt, he is probably fuming, and a lot of the players are, but I needed to see that on the pitch.
Yeah. It wasn't there, was it?
He
Wasn't there?
wasn't there.
No.
And that's my point. So it's hypocritical, and I didn't see on the pitch. If he had given all of that on the pitch, right?
Yeah, it's not like he was a standout performer on the day, was it?
Exactly, exactly.
He was
I
as
mean,
bad as the others.
he was, and what I didn't see was, look, he's not the most talented player out there, right? But he gets down and does the job. We've never questioned that fact. But when a leader was needed, and I know he's distanced himself from that leadership role at Arsenal because of previous controversies, but at that point, when a senior player was needed, we know Lenny isn't that type of player. He's the one who gets down to business, right?
Yeah.
It's him and Martin Odegaard,
Yeah.
right? They are the two who need to get up, just talk to bloody Ramsdale and say, get your energy up.
Yeah. Just on the subject, I know we're going to move on to the Everton game in a second now. We've
Yeah.
done quite a few minutes on this segment. Well, how do you rate Martin Odegaard as a captain? If you want my view on it,
Hmm.
I think it's as if we just haven't had a captain in these last few games. I haven't seen too much leadership from him, and just on pointing out what you were talking about a few minutes ago,
Hmm.
I didn't see that at all when the
No,
chips were
no,
down.
no. And I think that's what tells the character. It was similar to Aubameyang. I think Martin Odegaard, and we don't know what happens in the dressing room, right? This man could be absolutely killing it in the dressing room and bawling at people, right? But I think he still has ways to go to learn as a leader. I tell you what, if Kieran Tierney's on that pitch, Arsenal are getting this back.
Yeah, yeah. I think many of us would agree with that. Yeah,
Yeah, because that guy would have been simply like, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. We're getting this back. Let's go.
yeah.
Right? Because not just the fact that he would give no shits, he's so simple and straight to the point, he would get this done.
That's it.
That's what captain, that's it. And that's what captaincy is about, right? It's about passion, it's about showing the greatest captains that Arsenal have had. We're talking about Patrick Vieira, we're talking about Tony Adam, right? They weren't just good or great players, they were charismatic leaders because they led by example. And when the
Mm,
chips were down, they are the one who would go headbutt with their own team to say, no, let's get it done.
yeah.
The
No,
game's not over. At 55 minutes, you're down to an own goal. The game is not over,
no, not at
right?
all. No.
Not at all. But the heads dropped. That
Yeah.
was the problem. So for me, Odegaard has a lot to learn to be a captain. Look, he's been a fantastic signing, and he's the by far the biggest creator of Arsenal. Let's
Yeah.
not get
No,
it
I'm not.
wrong,
I'm
right?
not denying that at all.
Yeah, so he's a pivotal player for the Arsenal project going forward. The fact that he's 22 or 23 is insane, right? He hasn't even reached his peak yet. Let's just get it right. None of these players have, right? It's scary to think where they will be once they reach their peak, including Martin Odegaard. But as a captain, for me, if you're asking me who the captain, club captain should be, it should be Kieran Tierney.
Mm. Yeah.
There's no one else.
And that's why I asked you the question. Really, you've kind of answered and asked the question I was going to ask. Is that I'm kind of glad that we have seen a glimpse of what Odegaard's captaincy looks like, because it kind of just points us into the direction of, yeah, Kieran Tierney next season. And
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. Took the words right out of my mouth. I think if Kieran Tierney's on that pitch, we may not win, but we see a lot more fight, because
yeah,
he's
exactly.
somebody who leads by example. And for me, I'm going to finally end on this note. Before we move on, is although I wasn't totally against Odegaard being captain, Odegaard is your luxury player. He's your
Yeah,
silky player. He's your guy that is going to be sumptuously threading balls in and playing with that kind of class. Whereas and don't get me wrong, he has got a good press game to him, Odegaard, but
Hmm.
Kieran Tierney's more of put your put your cuffs right to the top of your arms, and let's go, guys, and that kind of Glaswegian-y kind of accent, and really aggressive kind of way of playing and talking, just getting the boys pumped up. I can't see Odegaard getting the boys pumped up. Maybe in years to come he will be that guy, but yeah, for me, I think the selection of Odegaard as captain just proves to me that KT, or maybe potentially someone like Gabriel, which we've talked about previously. But guys, we will have a segment on Arsenal captains, I'm sure, after the season ends. Right, guys. So let's move on then.
All right.
So tomorrow, 3 o'clock, last day of the season. I want to say 3 o'clock. Is it three? It
I
usually
think
is
it's
3 o'clock.
four.
Is it 4 o'clock?
I think it's
Yeah.
four this time. Yeah.
Last game of the season, we've got Arsenal at home to Everton. This should have been the game, guys, where a guard of honour should have been made for us, really, for qualifying for Champions League, because we should have been there. You know, 4 games to go, 4 points clear of Tottenham. This was a game that shouldn't have even mattered, and it does really matter now, because mathematically, if Tottenham were to lose at Carrow Road, they're playing Norwich away,
Hmm.
and Everton lose to ourselves and we beat Everton, then actually goal difference or anything like that, it doesn't matter, because Arsenal go straight into the Champions League.
Not happening.
And I was about to ask you about that, Zed, but I'm gonna before I do ask you, and you may be very short with your answer. I'm gonna tell you about a very very.
Go on.
I shouldn't really, should I? I shouldn't, but I will. But I will. But I will. I've got a feeling that
Hmm.
um, tomorrow's not going to be as straightforward as everybody thinks at the moment, right?
Oh,
And
okay.
by the way, I'm not entirely against this, because I think I want the pressure on Arsenal. To be honest with you, I think this is, if something does happen over at Carrow Road, and you know how these things work when all of the games are being played at the same time, the crowd will let the players know, right?
Yeah.
It could be our last chance, and I'm not saying it will be. I'm probably with you. It's not happening, but we do know that the Spurs have been known to bottle in the past,
Hmm.
and well, they haven't had a trophy in God knows how long, right? Um, so there's a reason for why they haven't had a trophy, because they generally do bottle from that situation. And I'm being very careful of how kind of arrogant I'm sounding here as an Arsenal fan. I'm just sort
Hmm.
of being realistic here that um, they weren't playing very well, Spurs, in the last game against Burnley, where
Yeah.
they were gifted a penalty. Yeah, look, let's just take the North London derby out of it, because form, as we already said, goes out of the window for those kind of games. But they haven't really been even in games where it was kind of a given, and they've been playing quite easy teams at home. They haven't hadn't the performances haven't been the best. I do also hear as well. I don't know if you've heard this yourself, Zed. I'll finish
Hmm.
on my bit now.
Go on.
That there's some sickness in the camp. So
Pizzagate.
well, it wasn't Pizzagate. It was Lasagnagate. Actually, those years ago, it was Lasagnagate. Now I don't know how significant that sickness is, but if and I'll say this, it's easy for us to sit here and say this, but there is also £2 million extra riding on 3 points for Norwich tomorrow. They win that game and they go at the space up in the table, and I think it's £2 or £3 million more that they get before finishing off in when they end the season. So there's a bit of motivation for them there, right? But here's where I am. I'll end on this: is that
Hmm.
I can see us bottling it too. I really can. And my prediction is tomorrow, and I'm going to put it out there,
Go
is
on.
I think Tottenham may lose tomorrow, and it might be just
Oh.
a quick 1-0 or something like that. But I think we'll probably end up, maybe winning for the last. and lose and conceding a stoppage time equaliser, in which case putting Tottenham into the Champions League by a point. Um,
So,
where are you on this?
so you're basically thinking of this some dramatic
I
sports
do. I
film.
do. I've just got a feeling. I've got a feeling. I've got a feeling that tomorrow it won't be as straightforward as Tottenham are going to be thumping. I mean, I know there's some other sort of deliverables on the other side of things. So, for example, Son has
Hmm.
got a chance of getting the Golden Boot tomorrow. I think he's 2 goals away from Salah.
One goal
Is he
away.
one goal? Okay, so
One goal
if he
away.
scores two, he gets a Golden Boot, or he joins a Golden Boot with Salah. So there's going to be motivation there. But listen, if I was Norwich, I'd absolutely. I mean, they drew with Wolves in the last game. I know Wolves have not been setting the world alight, but last game of the season away, the home fans get behind them, give them a nice send off in the last game of the Premier League before they get relegated. Well, they're already relegated before they go back
They're
down.
relegated, mate. Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I think something could happen over there.
Okay. Let. Okay.
Let's bring us
Before.
down to earth now, Zed. Come on, let's do
Yeah.
it.
Let me just tell you some interesting facts before I make my uh, point clear. But I think when I'm making these factual information known, you will know where I'm getting at. So Norwich have lost all of their last 5 games, other than the draw against Wolves.
Wolves, yeah.
Yeah. Tottenham have won their last 2 games. Right. Norwich have only won 5 games this entire season. By the way,
Hmm.
they've lost 25. Right. You're expecting them to do over Spurs at home. Yeah. When Spurs are shoo-in for a Champions League spot. Remember, there's no playoff. They go straight into the Champions League with Sonny going for a golden boot against Mo Salah. Right? One goal away. Right? So just to paint a picture, right? As much as I would like to play the fantasy game of yes, that is the case, and this is what drama, and this is the thrill that we live for. If this was a sports movie, I would absolutely agree with you. Right? This is what will happen. It comes down to the wire. In the last 5 minutes, Arsenal score from 1-1 to win, 2-1, or 90th minute against Everton, they win 2-1 and they qualify for the Champions League. It would make a hell. When the Arsenal documentary for Amazon comes out, that would be one hell of a story.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah,
will sell out
that would.
quickly.
Yeah, that would sell it. But reality check: Tottenham will win. They will win very comfortably, 2-3-0.
Yeah,
Son will probably get a couple of goals. Harry Kane will get a couple of assists. Arsenal most likely, at best, get a draw, right? Because Arsenal, as we've spoken, they don't bounce back well. They've lost 2 games. Going by Arteta's um, record, it's wins and then losses, at least 3 or 4 losses on a row. So Everton, they've secured. They'll have a statement to make, climb up the table. They can go up to 15th if Southampton don't win, and they can end the season pretty well, right?
yeah.
So, uh, and they have nearly the full squad back. So Dominic Calvert-Lewin's back as well. So they have the near enough full squad at their backing as well. And this squad was good enough to survive the Premier League, regardless of Lampard's questionable management, right? So let's get it right. Arsenal will play Europa League football
Mm,
next season, which is what the ambition was at the start of the season. It's exciting the fact that they were in the Champions League runoff because of teams like West Ham and Wolves dropping off, Leicester dropping off this season,
yeah,
and Manchester United being, the most comical team in the Premier League this season.
yeah.
So it was a good chance, it was a good opportunity, but I think finishing fifth is the most realistic statistically. And that is probably what the target, not probably, that was the target at the start of the season. And this is where the team deserves to play based on the whole season performance overall,
Hmm.
right? So I don't think there's going to be anything else dramatic, as you say. You know what? If it is, I am happy to put my hands up and say this was one of the best moments of my life, but I highly doubt it.
Yes. No, the writings on the wall don't suggest that my scenario is even close to what may or could happen. I'm just I was just telling you what my feeling is, Zed, and My feeling is that I don't feel it is going to be as straightforward for Tottenham tomorrow. I haven't been convinced by their performances. I think they've been a bit lucky. I think they were lucky with a game-changing penalty, a very soft penalty that even some of the most ardent of Tottenham supporters, if they were true to themselves, would say was soft.
Hmm.
And then the North London derby, anything changes. Everything changes on a penalty decision, and they're at home. They've got their crowd behind them, and they go on to win the game and they get momentum. You're absolutely right. Everything is in Tottenham's favour, but I just have a feeling.
Well, mate, if that is the feeling and if that comes off, wow, I'm going to be coming to you for all life advice. But I highly doubt it. I think Norwich will definitely try their best, but I think Dean Smith and the Norwich team they're ready for another slog in the championship. Probably they're too good for the championship. They're going to bounce back. They're a yo-yo club. One season in the championship, one season in the Premier League. That's their kind of setup. That's how they make the money, and that's how they stay afloat. So,
What's Arsenal's injury situation looking like for tomorrow then, Zed?
oh, now you're asking the questions. I think they're nearly at full strength. Tomiyasu, I think, is not available. Uh,
Yeah.
but let's have a look. So who we got? Everton at home, who I think are in full strength, as I mentioned already. So let's look at team news. Where we at? Where we at? Where we at? Where we at? Okay. So I think injury wise, I think we have everyone back. Obviously, Party and Tierney
I
and
hear,
all these
I hear, I
boys
hear,
is
I hear Party's actually back in training, but he won't be risking
He's,
it
he's, he's
tomorrow.
not playing. He's not playing tomorrow. I don't think he's in contention. So if we're saying team, we're probably gonna have Cedric right back. We're gonna have Ben White and Gabriel at centre backs. We're gonna have Tavares at left back, and we're gonna have Mo and Xhaka in the middle of the park. I don't know what he's gonna do with Martinelli or Smith Rowe.
I mean,
They're both
for
fit.
me, Martinelli comes back in all day, every day.
Well, do you think he'll do that?
Gosh, anything goes with our boss at the moment. I mean, anything could happen. To be honest with you, I mean, I think if he's learned, then Martinelli comes back in. You need that sort of early. This is the problem with Arsenal this season is that they go a goal
Mhm.
down, they're more likely to lose, and that's what the stats are saying. However, they go a goal up, they're always more likely to win. So would you go? Would we're not a team that necessarily chases well. Although I think there's been the odd sort of result where we've come back, but this is where the coach needs to learn, and the manager really rather needs to bring in Martinelli from the start and actually go with an early goal and just to settle the nerves.
Yeah, yeah, I think I agree with you there. But in terms of the others, I think Nketiah and Saka, I'm a bit what you call worried about. I think
Would you rest
Saka.
Saka then? Give it. I mean, I know the boss
I
talked
mean,
about him sort of being fatigued and whatnot, but
he's fatigued. He's fatigued. I don't think he's injured, but I think he's fatigued. Um, so I think he should rest him.
yeah.
I think he should. So I think he should rest
Okay.
him.
Okay. So tomorrow, what's prediction then? Let's go on to predictions now. I'll get you to predict both scores actually, because that's the only ones that matter really tomorrow. I know there's a little bit of an issue with the top of the table and the bottom of the table, but our focus is on tomorrow. So for us against Everton and Tottenham against Norwich, what's the prediction for both games?
Okay, oh, Everton versus Arsenal. Now we have a very good record against them, but I said the same thing against when we were playing bloody Newcastle. Uh, but I think okay. This is a tough one, but I'm gonna bring my positivity out. I'm gonna say Arsenal win 2-1.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
The Spurs game, Spurs win, as I said, 2-3 now.
Two or three,
Let's go with 3 now.
and Son getting the golden boot.
He'll tie with Salah for the Golden Boot.
Oh, okay.
Unless, who are Liverpool playing, by the way? I don't know. I don't check on their stuff, but who are they
I
playing?
have no idea because I just know that Arsenal. I'm just following Arsenal really. So
No, no, they're playing Wolves. They're playing Wolves, so I expect Salah to get a goal, unless he's injured. He did come off in the FA Cup final injured, so I don't know if he may
okay.
be.
My prediction for tomorrow's Ed
Yeah,
is Tottenham will
go on.
lose 2-1, and Arsenal will
Two
draw.
one.
Yeah, 2-1, and Arsenal will draw 1-1 with Everton, and we will
Oh.
chuck it away again.
So you're saying a topsy-turvy final day with
Yeah,
scores changing, everyone looking at their phones and thinking what's happening because the game is all at the same time.
yeah. Yeah.
So okay, you're still going for the drama. I don't think it'll be anything that dramatic. I think Spurs will score early and they'll keep control of the game.
But I'm going to come back at you again here now, Zed. When
No.
have they done that this season? That's the point. Or since
Against
Conte's
Arsenal,
coming. Well, I mean, Arsenal were down to 10 men and it was a North London derby, but take that
score the
away.
penalty first.
Where Tottenham have been strongest, and believe me, I'm an expert on Tottenham because I've watched them so much this season, as much as I've
Oh,
watched
mate,
Arsenal.
careful, careful,
Uh,
careful.
yeah, certain people will be mounting accusations, but no, only to make sure that they slip up. Is where Tottenham have been strong is in those big games against your Manchester Cities and your Liverpools, where here you go, have the ball, will absolutely terrorise you, and they have, by the way, and torture
Mhm.
you on the break, right?
Yep.
And what's going to happen here is Norwich will be, oh, what are we going to do here? And actually, let's take the game. Oh, you know,
You
it's.
think they're gonna get confused by trying to control the game?
I just don't think Tottenham can play in any other way. You know,
But I
um,
mean, against Burnley, they were controlling the game. They were creating chances, and they were trying to get it. But
but
Nick Pope and Burnley,
Burnley were well in that game. Zed, this is going to be for me a similar game to Burnley. Honestly, for me, because
they get a pen.
well, they probably will get a pen. I mean, the refs really love giving VAR as well, love giving pens to Tottenham and getting Harry Kane his goals record up, right? But this is what I'm trying to say is that he if Conte gets past the line here, let's be straight here, Zed, it would be
Mhm.
because of the points that they've got against Man City, Liverpool, and Chelsea. Because there were results they never should have got. Even I think Man United just about beat them, didn't they, in the last few minutes of the game? I think at Old Trafford. I want to say, was it Old Trafford? I
Yeah,
think it was.
I think so. I don't watch that much Tottenham, mate.
They've beaten Chelsea, Manchester City, and they've drawn against Liverpool. Okay,
Bloody hell.
right. That's why they're in the race. To be honest with you, right? Because actually, they've dropped points against Brentford. I know we lost against Brentford very, very early on in the season, and Brighton amongst other games. So, I guess what I'm trying to say to you is that tomorrow is for most top six teams. Tomorrow would be a given, in my view. You know, I don't think it's going to be that straightforward. I think it's going to be a little bit of a scrappy Burnley-esque game. But let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Right, guys, we know that we will at least be in the Europa League, and if you ask Zed, we're definitely going to be in the Europa League next season. Um, but what I want to get from you, Zed, is very very quickly and briefly, because obviously we're going to touch on the transfer window. But I want to know what really. That the boss is coming to big fire, and we are a topsy turvy fan base. One week it's Arteta in, one week it's Arteta out. I think where I stand on this is that we're in too deep to get rid of him now. But I
Hmm.
do really think next season is key. Hence why I'm asking you these questions now around targets. Zed, is we've obviously, you touched on it earlier. The target was Europa League, or better than what we were last season. Personally, for me, if we didn't get into Europe this season, for me he should have been chopped.
Yeah.
It's been good being in the top four race. It looks likely that we get that fourth place, but it is what it is, and it was nice while it lasted. But what should our targets be next season, and how cutthroat should our fan base be with regards to the manager and the current setup and process?
Okay. Very good question. Uh,
I ask very good questions, Ed. You're right.
no, that's a very good question. So I like the fact that you've been realistic this time.
For once.
For once, yeah. Um, Otherwise, I have to be the realistic one most of the time. But uh, in terms of the fact that this was the target this season, I agree. And if he didn't achieve it, yes, he did deserve to be chopped, right? But I think the problem is there wasn't anyone else on the market who would you could get unless you're gonna go for my favorite guy, Graham Potter. Sorry, I keep bringing him up, but you know,
You love him.
I absolutely love the guy. He's a very good manager. If Arteta does go next season, and I'll come to that, he should be the guy Arsenal are targeting. But anyway, getting to the point, yes, I think he's achieved the target. So I think the board will be very happy with what he's done. He's overhauled the squad. It's the youngest team in the Premier League. There's a direction, and there's a lot of work still left to do. So in terms of targets and the summer window, I mean, we've already touched on it in multiple pods, especially when we were doing the January transfer window as well. The striker is the key. I think Eddie is still unknown whether he stays or goes. Sorry, all Arsenal fans. Mbappe is staying at PSG. He won't be coming to Arsenal.
Oh gosh, I mean, was he considering us even, Zed?
No way in hell. I'm making that as a joke, mate. Never was a time that Mbappe was
Although he
even
did
close
come
to
out
us.
and definitely rule out Tottenham, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely. I think he ruled out Tottenham, but never actually even considered Arsenal. So,
Yeah,
right. So,
true.
but other than missing out on Kylian Mbappe and Erling Haaland, just to get that out there as well, uh, Arsenal do need a striker on a realistic tone. So we know Lacazette's leaving. I don't think there's any part of the fact that he's staying, and the fact that he hasn't started many of the last few games. It's key to that. Eddie more likely to stay, but it's 50-50 whether he stays or not. So striker is absolutely necessary. I think up to two strikers. That is the work that they need to do, and they are heavily linked to Gabriel Jesus, which would be an excellent signing. You know, he's got 5-6 years of Premier League experience. Uh, but midfield, right? Midfield is very important. Ganduzi is gone, so they have to have another defensive midfielder and a passing midfielder. So two midfielders and Lakonga going out on loan. That loan, that is my what you call key points. So midfield has to be targeted, and then Saliba has to be brought in. I know Danny is going to love this one, but Saliba has to be brought in back into the fold to back up that.
Yeah, that Danny will be a fan. I tell you.
Yeah, no, but he has to be brought back into the fold to, play important games and roles and challenge Ben White and Gabriel for those starting spots and getting game time in
So
Europa
where
League.
are we? Where realistically, what should I? Because I think the fact that you see, this is what's mounting the pressure on the Arsenal at the
Mhm.
moment. Zed is that if we hadn't been in that top four race
Race.
this season, and we'd always be sort of fifth, sixth, floating around, and it was always actually the sort of the realistic sort of option for us, or where we would end up finishing, nobody would have batted an eyelid. But I think now
No,
the
no.
fact that we will miss out by 1 or 2 points will absolutely ramp the pressure up on the manager.
I
Um,
think he will. I think he will. But remember, I don't think the way the Arsenal board and Arteta are working right now is taking that pressure. They've got a plan in place. They know what they want to do, and that's why they got rid of so many players. That's why they brought in so many new, younger players. They are doing this step by step. So I don't think the pressure counts or mounts, right? I think the target for this season has been met. I think the target for next season is to get into the Champions League. Let's have it right. It's be in the top four race. Whether you finish top four or not, it's a secondary thing. But Europa League or Premier League, you've got two avenues to get into the Champions League. And next season, Arteta has to deliver one of those two.
I've
He
got a
has to get into
feeling
the
as
Champions
well.
League.
I'm not 100% about this, and we'll need to obviously check it out, Zed. But I've got a
Yeah,
feeling that they're changing the format of the Champions League next season, where fifth
they
place
are.
might get you in. Is that correct?
Well, they proposed changes of the format. I don't think they've been approved yet. I think, and they only come in fact from 2023, so at the end of next season.
Okay, so it won't
Uh,
be next season then.
it won't be. Well, it could be at the end of next season. There could be, but it hasn't been approved yet. I think it's been tabled, but people are calling it Super League Light
Mm,
now.
Mm.
because it's not fair, and I can do a whole pod on why that is such a ridiculous format, right?
Yeah,
But I'm not going to go too deep into that; it'll take too long.
yeah,
So just to talk about what Arsenal need to do, we've talked about the summer recruitment that they need to do.
yeah,
They need to spend heavily, but they need to spend smart, right? They've already signed what you call Marquinhos, who's a winger from Brazil.
yeah.
Edu doing his links. I think apparently he's the next Gabby Martinelli, so
Well,
we
we'll
don't
find out
know.
about that.
We'll
Yeah,
we'll find out about that. But it's good. I think they need to get some reinforcement in the midfield. That is definitely the target, and striker options. That's where Arsenal need to be, and the squad needs to have a bit of depth to it.
yeah.
They won't survive if they don't have squad depth. Right now, Arsenal's squad is way too lean to compete in the Europa League, in the Carabao Cup, in the FA Cup, and in the Premier League.
So all of these signings are made, and everything is, lovely jubbly. Come sort of
Hmm.
August, September next season, and we're obviously going to be doing this in more pods as time goes on, guys. So keep
Yeah.
tuning in and listening to us for all of that information and analysis. But cutting question there, Zed. Where is he going to? Is he going to finish fourth or above next season? And he goes, or what? Because I know you're skating around the edges a little bit, but I'm trying to pin
Hmm.
you down for an answer, right? What,
Okay.
what I talked about ramping up the pressure. What happens next season for him to stay or go? I mean,
Okay. So.
by the way, we know that probably anything we say here is not remotely linked to what realistically happens. But look, we're a massive club. We're very well known across the world. This many seasons, we'd be 7 seasons outside, I think, of the Champions League. If we don't finish outside next season in the Champions League, should he stay or should he go if we don't get that fourth place?
Well, he's been handed a new contract, so that tells you some one thing. But realistically, the challenge next season is Champions League. I don't think it matters if he finishes fourth or if he gets it through the Europa League.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so yeah,
Right.
so getting into the Champions League.
Getting into the Champions. So if he finishes fifth and wins the Europa League, it's fine, right? But if the drop off is like what it was previous 2 seasons ago, he finishes eighth and loses in the last 16 or last 32 of the Europa League, then he has to be let go, and Graham Potter has to be in, right? That has to be the case. So I think, look, that's his target. That will be his final year. He's been in the job nearly 3 years by then, right? So by mid-season, so winter next this year, December time, we will know whether he is going to stay or go.
Okay, fair enough. I'm probably with you on that
Ooh,
one. To be fair, it has to be Champions League or nothing next season.
absolutely.
Whether or not the board listens to us on that is another thing.
I think they will. I think they will. There's a reason. So look, he won the FA Cup and he papered over some cracks, and he got his way. He got the manager. He shared the vision, right? He's been backed. He's got his players in. He's got the way he wants to play, right? He's got the team built the way he wants. He's getting backed again this summer. Remember, right? Arsenal are still going to be spending heavily this summer. Probably one of the most, spend they're going to have consecutively.
Hmm.
150 mil last season, probably about 150 mil this season,
Yeah.
right? If he doesn't deliver, any board in the world will let him go.
Mm.
Even Arsenal.
I'm not so sure I agree with that. I'm not so
Ooh.
sure, and I think you've answered that point by when you said a few minutes ago that he's been given another contract. So, um, well, look, let's see. We only want the best for Arsenal, and I think, guys, we will be podding this and discussing this in future pods. Certainly over the transfer window, we're going to have a lot more time to discuss some of these things. And as I mentioned, the transfer window, Zed, and I know you briefly touched on it a few minutes ago. Let's end on this point now, and let's talk
Mhm.
about the transfer window and what do you? I mean, it's a given. You've mentioned a few minutes ago that the striker situation is certainly something that cost us in the January window, and we were kind of told, or it was intimated that we're not signing anything in the January. Who knows? And Alexander Isak at the time
Mhm.
may have resulted in us finishing in fourth or even better. we will never know. Even a backup striker might have been able to come in. When we saw that it wasn't happening with Lacazette. What do you think? And I know I just want to briefly touch on this. Is what are the areas, the top 2 or 3 areas that we need to strengthen in, and who is it for you? Just out of the names that have been touted around, we got Gabriel Jesus.
Hmm.
We've got Calvert Lewin. You mentioned him a few minutes ago, also as well at Everton, potentially looking for a move. They're obviously safe now, and he may be looking to move on. We have midfield targets like Tielemans that have been sort of
Hmm.
banded around. Whether we don't get Champions League or not makes a difference. Who knows? Does the defense need a bit of reshuffle? Do we move Rob Holding on? What do you think we should be doing briefly on the transfer window?
Okay, I'm gonna. I mean, I've touched on half of those earlier anyway, but I'm gonna just summarize it for you from the goalkeeper onwards. Okay, Ramsdale's what you call number one now. So, and I think his performance has been up and down. I think unless Leno wants to extend his contract, which I highly doubt,
It's not
it
happening.
needs to be.
No.
It's not happening, right? He's gonna go on to play number one somewhere else. So, quickly, I'm gonna say a backup goalkeeper, backup goalkeeper, right? Uh, in terms of defense, if they're moving Cedric on, a backup right back, but I
Yeah.
think they'll keep Cedric for another season, realistically, right? He's got another year on his contract. I think they'll keep him and let him go for free because you're not going to get any money for him, right? So you might as well keep him.
Okay.
Uh, a backup left back, unless they are going to bank on Nuno Tavares, which I think they might. They might give him another season, so I don't think they'll do much on that in that regard. In terms of centre backs, Pablo Mari will definitely be gone, right? So then you've got Gabriel, you've got Ben White, you've got Rob Holding, and you've got William Saliba. They may do is that they move either Saliba or Rob Holding on and get another left-footed centre back, but I don't think it's high on their priority. I think they
Mm,
may just keep Gabriel and Saliba as the two backup centre backs who are fighting for Ben White and Gabriel with the starting spot, right?
yeah.
And I mean, it's yes, it helps if you have a left-footed centre back, but it doesn't matter if as long as you've got a good centre back, it can work, right? So I think they may keep that. In terms of midfield, it's very clear. Xhaka will stay. El Neni most likely will stay. They may cash in on him. They may get a good value for him right now, but I think his contract's over anyway, so they may extend, they may not. I think they should keep him, right? He's a good squad player to have. So for me, they should keep him, but I don't know if they will. So we've got Party, we've got Xhaka, we've got Elneny, and then there is a need for at least minimum one more midfielder, right? If they're
Hmm.
going to lose Elneny, there's two midfielders, one
Yeah.
defensive and one progressive. Progressive midfielder like Tielemans, who we'll link to, very realistic unless the likes of Liverpool or Real Madrid come calling, right? And that's going to cost about 40 mil or something from Leicester. Leicester no, don't sell cheap, right? And Champions League qualification is going to have a bearing on that as well. But at least they're in Europe, which Leicester are not.
Hmm.
So Tielemans is a realistic, what you call option. But with that, we need a defensive midfielder because he's quite a progressive one, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Forward line, I think they've got Marquinhos already as a backup winger. I think we've got Pepe. I think they're going to try to move on, right?
Yeah.
At a
That
big
looks like
loss.
it's happening. Yeah.
It's looked like it's happening, and I think probably 20, 30 mil at a maximum. They're going to get at a big loss, but Pepe will be moved on. Marquinhos comes in. You've got Saka, Smith Rowe, Martinelli, Marquinhos, and making that front, wings. You've got Odegaard. I would prefer a backup attacking midfielder, but we know Smith Rowe can play there, so I don't think that'll be a priority. So, and then you've got the striker situation, which we've been linked with every bloody striker on the planet. My preference is Gabriel Jesus, 100% get it done, 40 mil, easy. Probably less because he's only got a year left.
Yeah.
He's got 6 years of Premier League experience, and while he may not be the most clinical striker, he can play anywhere across the front line, and he's very good at linking play and also getting assists and goals, right? So, and he hasn't even hit his peak yet. He's 25, right? So it's a good age, good price, good striker to buy, and Arteta knows him. Then, if Eddie is leaving, Darwin Nunes.
Oh, cool. Okay.
The reason I say that is because he's younger, he's 21, 22, and he's a giant. You need a backup plan striker that can get on the ball or end of crosses. If you have the same style striker, both of your strikers are the same penalty box predators who are small and technically gifted, then you only have one game plan. So I would prefer, if Arteta was being technically or tactically wise, you go get out a big lanky striker, powerful striker, and you get a technical striker, which
Yeah,
is
bit
Gabby
of
Jesus.
diversity. Yeah,
Bit of
absolutely.
diversity.
Yeah.
So that's it. For priority. I think striker, midfield is a priority, and then backups for the defenders.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. No, I think that sounds fair. And Arteta is talking about being backed in the transfer window and the development, the next stage for this squad. And I agree with you what you said at the beginning of the stream today that we've got rid of a lot of dead wood, but it's actually
Hmm.
now, as you correctly point out, about replacing them with good squad players, and we're not just talking about people whose pulses are working and they'll be good enough to do a job, but actually people who will motivate the players that are selected to start and keep them on their toes. And be able to come in and do a job just in case there's injuries or as I say, we're going to have lots of games as well with at least Europa League football guaranteed.
Hmm.
Guys,
Absolutely.
sorry, go on, Zed, you were about to say.
No, no, I'm saying I absolutely agree with that, mate. That assessment is spot on.
I think we are now at our point. I tell you what, you've got to agree with me. I when I host Zed, my timing is absolutely impeccable, isn't it?
You do well, mate. You do very, very well.
So we're at an hour point. Anyway, guys, look, I've been Harry Khan. You can catch me at Harry Kanu on Twitter. I can't imagine why you would want to at the moment, but my Arsenal depression is up at the moment. But no, I'm messing. You can tweet me anytime, anything Arsenal related. Zed, where can we find you, my friend?
You can find me as Z_TAGP. And as I say every time, if you want to be on the pod, let us know. Reach out and we'll get it sorted.
Let's do it, guys. Okay, guys. Love you all. God bless, and we'll see you in the next pod. Take care. Goodbye.